All right. Hello and welcome to the Toucan Echo Podcast,
Woo!
featuring James and Harry. Hello,
Yeah.
James. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Not too bad. Excited. It is a very exciting time today. We're very close to the release of our song Mono Lake.
Oh yeah.
So, all sorts of things happening around that. All sorts of social media posts. We're recording this. We've got so many videos planned. Oh, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
Super exciting.
The Toucan Echo hype machine
So,
has roared into life.
Oh, it has. It's been on probably, I don't know, one of its slumbers. About a 2-week slumber. We need to stop those slumbers, James. But
It's out of the hangar or the garage or wherever we keep the machine. Whirring it back to life. Hype, hype, hype. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk a bit about Mono Lake. We're going to talk about our sort of creative process, the inspirations behind the song, and sort of talk about that. Before we do, we're going to talk about our new sort of plan for the next, ongoing plan, and how we're going to release music. And I think we mentioned it previously, but it's always good to talk about it again, because I think we're more sort of, we've solidified our ideas a bit more. We're a bit more confident with what we're going to do and what we're going to put forward over the next few months.
Yeah, we're not going to embarrass ourselves on the podcast by declaring loads of things that we're not going to do.
I think on our first ever podcast, I said that we were going to do it every week or something, or every day.
Love it.
This was like
We're going to do this every day.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I think that was about a year ago.
So much good intention. So much
I
good
know.
intention. Anyway,
We'll get
a song
there
a
one day.
month. A song a month. Yeah, that's basically what we're going to do. So we're hoping that this release is going to be a start of a long-term thing where we just release a song every single month. So we tried doing it back when we did Lord Owes Me in Summertime and Working From Home. I suppose Square One as well came out as a sort of A-side, B-side. So we tried a few different things. But I think we're kind of aware that when we go away to make a batch of songs, we kind of go silent for a little bit. And we'd actually prefer to spread that out and just kind of repeat the process month after month and keep a flowing kind of output of new songs. So that's what we're going to try and do, and hopefully that'll be better for us because we get to do the whole process from start to finish sort of again and again, and hopefully it's better for the people because they get new music on the reg. I don't have to digest the whole album once every year sort of thing.
Exactly. I think it's just a bit more modern. I sometimes think that an album is, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with all of this, but it's a bit of like a legacy from a previous age, where people could only go to the studio for a couple of months at a time, and they couldn't they weren't able to record like all the time like we can at the moment with our sort of home setups.
Yeah, it used
so I'm
to
kind
be,
of thinking that it
was like singles before that, and then it was singles initially in like the 50s or whatever. Like everyone would make a single, and then like you just kind of cobble your singles together onto an album. Like it's literally the fact that it had to fit on like a medium as well, had to actually fit on like a record. And then like
was it.
There's some period where everyone loved albums, and they made these like sort of early 70s. Everyone was making these long prog album projects, and now we're back to singles basically.
I don't know if you might have said this because my headphone just fell out, so I hope I'm not repeating you. But I think like back in the like late 50s and early 60s, it was like selling a bundle deal, so they could like sell more songs to make it sound more exciting. So it was like padding out what they were selling, so they could charge more money for it. Whereas actually, loads of the songs were just sort of filler, and they weren't
just
really
trash.
Yeah, basically just trash. So you ended up with like a collection of 14 songs, but you only get it for like 2 of the songs on the album. But they could sell it for more because it's 14 songs, and like that's obviously worth more than 2.
Yeah.
But those days are gone now. We're in 2020.
All killer, no filler.
It's time to move on. All killer, no filler. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully this will mean that like we can do a more regular flow of stuff, and like I think a bigger part of it compared to the singles we did before is we actually want to like tell the story around each song each month and kind of have an interesting thing to engage in and follow. So particularly when we get into later months when we're actually like writing the song in the month as well, whereas now we're kind of at this like late stage of COVID lockdown where we actually have quite a backlog of stuff to get through. So we're sort of slowly getting through our pile of stuff. Whereas I think in future, when we're sort of actually streaming like our writing of the song, and there's a bit more like, what's it going to be like we know there's going to be one, but we don't know what it is yet. Like it's not even written. I think that'll be quite exciting. Terrifying.
Living on the edge of our seats there.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully we'll have fans, but also it'll be scary when we have fans and they're all just rabid for the next song and we don't have anything.
Yeah, you could get criticism too early. Could be like, rubbish on the live stream. Oh no. So we'll work it out. But I'm really excited. I think we did a good start when we did it last time. When we did when we did 2 months in a row. I think it always just turned out being like a mammoth effort, and I think we got to like points where we didn't have songs fully written, so then it was really hard to do it all in a day, like from writing to recording. But we've got a big backlog of stuff, so we should technically be able to do it for a year because we've already got the songs written.
We've years of material, and by the time a year's over, we'll hopefully have another year's worth of material. So it's all good. It's all good. So I at the moment we're thinking like we'll release one song and one video. So we'll do a video along with each song, and the video will kind of be part of the artistic process as well. So it's quite ambitious, but I reckon we can pull it off. James. So I mean, I have saying that I have just sunk literally 2 weeks, probably about 2 weeks of my entire life into the video for Mono Lake.
An insane, like, deep dive into your soul.
That's
for it. I recorded the song in a day, basically. I was running behind, so I just did a Sunday, dawn till dusk, of bass guitars singing.
Yeah, I wish mine was just a Sunday.
Just one day. I get away with all sorts. I'm just really lazy behind the scenes and just bosh it out in a day.
You're just far more efficient. You're far more sensible.
Okay. But
should we get
Mono
stuck
Lake,
into this?
Anyway.
Let's get stuck into Mono Lake. Where should we start then? Should we start with a kind of first idea and inspiration for the song, maybe, or what do you reckon?
So a lot of songs come from titles. So actually, the seed of it is in a title and not a full idea. So all of it came on my trip to America. Like all the kind of fragments of it, pretty much, came on my trip to America at different times. So I went with my family on a kind of holiday, and we went San Francisco, and then drove from San Francisco through to Yosemite, and like so you basically spend, I don't know how long the drive is, like 6 hours or something, but you go like over the bridge and basically do these long highway trips, and it was quite sort of musical because we were listening to a lot of we had like a proper road trip playlist, like the Eagles and all Americana stuff, and it was cool. But before that, I'd had the idea for the riff, which doesn't happen to me very often, but like it literally came into my head as I was walking down the street in San Francisco. So I've got it. I mean, it sounds a bit different to how the end product was, but it's where the first seed of the idea came, and I like had to sing it, sort of subtly sing it into my phone while I was walking with my family, just like.
No one looked over and were like, James, what are you doing? Why are you singing to yourself?
Monocle?
No. You should. I mean, you should say, I'm a musician. This is what I do. I'm a creative soul.
I'm an unstoppable artist. So there was that, and you kind of piece all these things together. Sometimes it comes all together, but like this was kind of piecemeal together. So I had this idea that eventually became a riff when I like got home and put it on a guitar. And then on the trip between San Francisco and Yosemite, we stopped off for a coffee in a place called Mono Lake. Or we didn't actually stop at the main lake. We stopped at like a coffee place that was nearby enough that it was called like Mono Coffee or something. And it was just like, don't know, very just captured my imagination a little bit. It was literally this tiny like hut that served coffee, and there's pretty much like there was a couple of houses sort of in that bit, but it's just like by a road that just stretches for miles and miles and miles.
So did you actually see the lake?
Yeah, I think we drove past it I can't remember now. We went past a lot of bodies of water. We went past a lot of lakes, but we didn't actually stop and walk around that one. But the idea came from the coffee place that was nearby. I just liked the name, so I noted the name down on my phone. And then the sort of subject of the song came later, because what I was thinking about during that whole road trip was like what it would be like to live in one of those small towns, or live like as a stop on the highway. Because we just come from like a big city and we're on to like another big like nature reserve, and in between there's just this long 6-hour drive if you drive like, you know, non-stop. Maybe it was longer, and just there's this odd like collection of houses by Mono Lake, and it's just sort of proper middle of nowhere that you don't really get in the UK. Like, you get countryside, but this felt different, and so the idea came as like, first of all, like, does the news reach here, and do they get as worried about it as we do in the city? Because the contrast of coming from somewhere like San Francisco or London, like, where everything moves at a faster pace, and it's a kind of lot more to do with your reputation and standing and all this, and we kind of fool ourselves into importance by like absorbing the news every day, like whether it's Brexit or whether it's Trump or whatever. But like, you're kind of getting worked up by all this stuff that feels kind of like a city life. And then we were just stopped for a coffee, and there's basically nothing but a road and a lake and some nature. And it's just like, I wonder what it's like to live here. Like, do you feel as connected to that sort of stuff? And like, you've got all these, you're just a place that like all these people zoom past, and they might stop for 5 minutes and then they're kind of never back again, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was reflecting on all of this, and I was also kind of, the eventual song came with like that same idea, but a bit of a comparison to nature. The fact that you kind of look out the windows and you see these big mountains and these massive ancient trees and like, you know, big lakes, and you just go like, look at me getting worried about stuff, or getting stuff not in perspective, when this tree's been here for ages. Just through world wars and through ups and downs and booms and busts. This mountain's just still here chilling, and making us all look so small. So that's kind of the premise of it.
It's all Carl Sagan's pale blue dot sort of thing. It's just
it's perspective.
A healthy dose of perspective,
So a lot of the lyrics are sort of that. It's commenting on how you're sort of it's in this weird conversation with the nature or the lake. It's kind of like, oh, sorry, I'm only stopping, and like exactly what I said, like, oh, do you feel as stressed about this? And I feel like, and then like each chorus is like, I've got to keep it all to myself, which is kind of like, I feel like people don't have conversations about perspective. Like, all our conversations, I mean, this is not actually reflective of any conversations we had inside the car, but metaphorically, like, all the conversations you have inside the car with other people seem to be about this like small stuff that doesn't matter. Like, you and all the other people are getting kind of almost working each other up by these issues. And so this contrast of like stepping outside, almost away from your small problems, is like each of the verses when you kind of so that's like where the premise of it, of like what I'm talking about.
I quite like that. I quite like that. It's particularly sort of vivid for me at this time, because I mean, it probably loads of other people as well, but I spent the last 2 months living with my parents back in the countryside. So I escaped London and the kind of hotspot in the UK of the pandemic for a couple of months, and I moved back last week, and I can totally feel all this like other like stuff, just because I'm surrounded by so many more people and so much more stuff going on. Not as much as there used to be, granted, but like still way more than there was back in the village. And all of a sudden, my kind of perspective has just changed, and all this stuff has started to encroach all these like the little things, like what like all the kind of anxiety about people's jobs and who's doing better, and like the news and all that stuff just sort of starts encroaching more, and it's just like a significant effort to sort of bat it away when it's right there. So there's definitely like a situational thing, like if you're like just another stop on the highway, just like a random like middle of nowhere town, the pace is much slower. And like you could say from a lot of like measures, you're probably better off because you don't have all this like other stuff just flying by, all these distractions.
It was this idea that they wake up in the morning and they just see this mountain, and like surely you live with a bit more perspective if you just open up your door and you go, oh yeah, I remember like all my problems are really small, look at how big the mountain is.
Oh, it's unreal. Can I go on a side note here?
Yeah, go.
So I went on a 360 video tour of the Matterhorn in Switzerland last night. I've got
Harry's got a VR headset. If it's not been mentioned on the podcast, please sponsor us, Oculus Rift.
Yeah, Oculus. Yeah, I wish I could afford an Oculus Rift.
Feel free to send us free headsets. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're like strapped a 360 camera, like it was 12K, a 12K 360 camera to the bottom of a helicopter, and like you just like flew around the Matterhorn, which is like this it's like a big fuck off mountain in the Alps. I'm not entirely sure. Like it's like 4,500 meters tall, and it's like quite unique because it's like a square pyramid sort of shape. Those of you watching on the video will be able to see my hands making a sort of square pyramid shape, and it's just imposing. And like on one side of the mountain there's like a town, I think it's in Switzerland, I really hope I'm not wrong, but I might be, and then there on the other side of the mountain there's another town in one of the other countries, and just the kind of there's just a kind of like perspective that you get when you're looking from that town at the mountain. It's just like, I get what James is saying. He's now busy right now, but that's fine. This podcast is super like off the cuff, as you can tell, where we just get distracted. We talk to our family, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, Oculus Quest VR 360 video, traveling around the mountain. It's unreal. Welcome back, James.
Sorry about that.
That's nice.
So I'll just mute myself for that bit. So what did you say?
I was just saying that there's a similar kind of thing. Like there's two towns that look up upon this like really imposing mountain, and it's just the same thing. Like imagine like walking out your doorstep and just seeing that and being like, that has been there through everything. This thing is just like, it just grants perspective, and it's really hard to say why actually, because it's just a mountain, it's just rock. So why would that grant perspective? But it just does.
I think it's the fact it's like inanimate. It's just there like chilling, like no emotion.
Yeah.
And there's the like scale. I'm kind of having a look through the lyrics now and see if there's anything else that like I've missed that I put in. But yeah, like all of them are sort of little references to like your smallness versus nature. There's like wrapped around the thumb of the valley is this kind of idea that these roads were winding round, but you're actually kind of just this little piece of string like on a like a big scale, rocky sort of landscape. So yeah, so it's all about trying to like think bigger, but also not get caught. In a sense, like not get caught in the small things, so that you can think bigger with more perspective. But also in the same way, with this like bigger ambition, you can actually also be more chilled out because you're not getting like caught up in the small thing. There's kind of both things going on there.
It's a bit of optimistic nihilism, isn't it? It's like
kind of, yeah.
In the most positive sort of way, your actions don't really make a difference. So you're almost granted the freedom to do like whatever you really want to pursue.
But in the sense of like being as big as you want.
Because
the sort of last lines in the end bridge bit where it's like time to wander out even if I've got the sun in my eyes, which is like even if I'm being naive or over optimistic, which is like the sun in your eyes, like it's time to kind of venture. And so it's sort of even if I end up like being too idealistic, I guess, being too you might get like slapped down for trying to be too ambitious, thinking too big. You might have too much hubris, but it's time to kind of open up to that and try. So time to wander out.
Yeah.
If I got the sun in my eyes, which is over optimism. All these hidden meanings.
I like that a lot.
Genius, if I
That's
say
nice.
myself.
All right, James. Yeah. That's
So yeah, that's
I like
that's
that a
where
lot.
we're at. So, but how did we? So we've got all that stuff which happened like a year ago or so. Which how did it then slosh into a song?
So I guess the next part is like at the beginning of lockdown, James and I decided to try a different way of writing, where I would record like minute-long clips of drums, just improvising whatever I felt like at the time, and I would send them to James, and then James would write a song to that. I think it was like the second batch of grooves that I sent James. I was sort of experimenting with more sparse drumming, so mostly sort of like snare and tom driven, and then I think for the one that you picked, I kind of transferred to the ride cymbal for a bit for the bridge. But this one, I think it was probably the kind of verse drumming where I was like quite sparse, like not really much going on at all, just barely keeping the rhythm together. Not to say that it was like a bad take, but like they were
You
like
picked the ropey one, yeah.
Yeah. No, like there weren't many drum hits, but they were all like relatively on the beat. I think it was that sort of sparse drumming that might have led you to put the riff on top. So I sent that across, and then James sent back this demo. It was like I don't know if you extended that one. Like you might have doubled up my loop for a bit, but
I think I doubled it. Yeah, I think I took your clip and then like just copied and pasted it and had it play twice. I've got too much expression for a minute. Too much in here.
So it starts like the demo at least starts with like a nice warm synth pads, and then the drums come in and it's like do da, 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 and it's then the riff comes over the top, and it's just like super smooth and super relaxing. It is almost like just a super relaxed sort of road trip kind of vibe. You're almost like just relaxing the back of the car. That image comes quite strong for me. But,
honestly, some of my favourite bit of travelling is sitting in back of cars or on trains. Just really sad. I enjoy that almost as much as the destination. Just the kind of just being there and staring out the window and just letting your mind like wander over these long, because a lot of like Walk to Circus came for that, because I was doing a similar like trip in Tibet with long drives through mountains, and I listened to like loads of 3-hour podcasts or like a couple of demos. This is really sad, but a couple of demos that I made on like repeat, just to kind of get them in like like the breathing space instrumental that was like 10 minutes long. I would like listen to that a few times.
Yeah.
And you would just kind of drop into this deeper sort of space, very meditative. So yeah, I love it. I mean, if we go touring, we'll just put the stops like really far away from each other, so we can just drive for like. Although it depends if we're driving ourselves. I'm not sure I can be bothered to drive.
We'll take the slowest train. Yeah.
Yeah, you can take like freight trains in America.
Yeah.
You can take, they've got like an interrailing, but it's sort of super long, out of the way freight trains. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So like super calm verse. It's like an intro going back to the song, and then it just kicks off into this chorus, and it's like it took off. It was one of my favorite demos actually of that batch, but the chorus just like went, and I was like, whoa. Super good descriptions there. That was good. The chorus just went.
Yeah, and then I suppose we then kind of made that demo, and then when we decided to do it for like this month's song, we sort of went back to the beginning. You re-recorded the drums with like I think I did a demo to a metronome first of all.
Yeah.
So you could know like what bits were coming where, and then I think we extended it out a bit from the initial demo, and I added an extra verse and an extra like end bit.
And the outro's sick. But what? Yeah. Wonder out even if I got the sun in my eyes. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah. So the outro was like, I wanted it to. You've got this kind of opening and closing almost between the like. You've got the verse which is kind of thinner and more sparse, and then the chorus is coming big, and then given that like the lyrics for the last bit were about like opening out, being more optimistic,
Mm.
and kind of going. It's a little bit like, oh, just fuck it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna be a bit more. I wanted the like song to come out like that a bit more, and sort of what was influencing me was sort of 60s songs, like specifically like All You Need Is Love and some stuff from Sgt. Pepper, so like Beatley, where they had these big, you could just imagine like loads of hippies sort of gathered like singing together in colourful clothes. So I wanted like really layered vocals for it, so that it sounded a bit more like a Beatlesy crowd where it's all in like a big harmony sort of singing. And I sort of had this quite like colourful thing for it, so I had to like layer lots of vocals on that basically. Testing out my harmony knowledge for sure. But so I got some piano in there as well.
Got some piano.
Sneaky. Some secret piano.
Sneaky little.
It's not great piano actually. It's quite trashy. So, but it's in C, so like.
Oh yeah.
It's alright.
Just the
you
white
don't have to
notes,
do any of those darn black keys. Yeah. Just move the same shape around. So it was all good.
Yeah, that's good. I do like the end bit a lot. It's one of my favourites. If anyone's wondering, actually, we do put all of the demos out on the internet. They're literally all on our SoundCloud. It's pretty bold. Some people wouldn't agree with. Some other musicians might not agree with putting your demos out, but we just throw them out there for everyone to. Okay. Who cares? So they're up.
Yeah.
Toucan Echo SoundCloud.
It's in a catchy playlist called Lockdown Wemos. I sent some to our email list actually. It's probably the place to be for this sort of thing.
Well, yeah, of course.
They get notified on stuff earlier.
Yeah, the inner circle. Sign up.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't,
that's what we should call it.
I don't think there's actually a place where people can sign up right now, apart from the. I was just sorting out the kind of sign up page for the Mono Lake release, which is the place to go. But I think we need to make like a proper.
There'll be one by the time they hear this.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Did you just give me an action, James?
Yeah. Yeah. Get it, make it happen. Yeah. Business. Yeah. We should be wearing suits for this business meeting.
We should. Actually, let's just not. I'm never going to wear a suit again, James. That's not going to happen.
Man. Yeah, that's going to be the weirdest thing coming out of lockdown. I get back in my job. I might have to actually like dress up. My weekend and my week are just the same dress right now, you know.
Yeah. Well.
Not the same dress, the same clothes.
Yeah.
I don't wear a dress.
You could wear a dress, so that'd be absolutely fine.
Anyway, the other part of I suppose part of it is like that was the song, and I suppose you read the drum track, and I layered all this stuff in a mad rush weekend, and that's pretty much good to go now. And the other half that's happened behind the scenes, sort of in Harry's HQ, has been the video.
Oh, the video.
Which I don't know if you want to touch on that, and the influences on the video are sort of something completely different.
It's not that different. But it is. It's like half the inspiration is the same inspiration, but then I kind of took. So I wanted to stick with the kind of nature stuff. We were sort of spitballing ideas about what the video could be, and James basically sent me a big. I think he sent me a big fuck off text with that. Basically the description that you spoke about earlier in the podcast, where it's all about like nature and the kind of perspective sort of thing. And I was like, holy shit, it's got to be nature. And then I kind of thought, what if I could like draw mountains and make it look like mountains were being drawn. So I don't know if I probably mentioned on the podcast before, but I've been on the kind of furlough scheme, which is like where you don't have to work, but the government pays for your salary, and I've been on that since April. And during that time, I've been learning to code. So, and one of the things I've been learning to code with is it's like, I don't know how technical to go here, James, because it might just be really boring, but.
Well, we'll go for it, and then I'll edit it out if it's boring. Entertain me.
Anyway, so I've been learning to code in something called it's like a library of functions in Java, which is like geared towards making graphics and making animations. And it's called Processing, if anyone's interested. But I've been using that, and there's a type of like random noise that you can use. It's called Perlin noise, and I won't go into how that's generated because that is complicated as fuck, and I'm not sure I could pull it off on the podcast. But there's a type of noise, and you can use this in like so many ways. It's unbelievable. If anyone wants to like see what people can make, just search like Perlin noise processing, and there'll be all sorts of like animations and sketches. But one of the things you can use it for is to generate terrains. And the bit that I was interested in is like one-dimensional terrain generation, which sounds a bit strange, but it's just like a sort of loopy line that sort of like randomly kind of squiggles downwards, and you can control like the gradient and stuff. And I can use that to draw mountains using like code. So I embarked on a journey, an epic journey, and like it was an unbelievable learning experience. I learned so much about coding and how to create this sort of animations, but I wanted to get these animations like mountains drawing themselves, and eventually I kind of expanded that to things like stars and comets and like explosions and the sun and the moon. I had to figure out ways to code animations that represent all these things, with the idea of creating a landscape that draws itself in the video, that you kind of move through as it progresses, and it's like all these sort of marvels of nature, like the stars and mountains, and you move through this landscape, and it took me about 2 weeks, and it was hard, but I think I pulled it off in the end, and I've learned so much.
That is amazing.
So the kind of idea behind I guess the other inspiration was I wanted it to look a bit like Japanese minimalist art. And it sort of does in the way that a lot of Japanese art is just like outlines of things, and it's not necessarily like a kind of it's not trying to be completely real and true to what the world looks like. It's like outlines, and it's
things like woodblock painting. Like, a lot of it comes from traditional like methods that they used. I think they also paint a lot of nature, like in Japanese culture. Like they're quite sort of, with things like wabi sabi that we talked about before, like they're quite interweaved with nature. Like as a society, they have it quite sort of as a priority, I think, in their psyche. You know, they have those beautiful like Zen gardens and stuff. So yeah, like a lot of their actual, not just the style, but actually a lot of their art is about nature as well. Hence, like it looks even more.
Yeah. And then it kind of went from there. So I was like, if we're being inspired by Japanese art, wouldn't it be quite cool to have like the lyrics translated in Japanese, like text afterwards? Because for someone who is British and has never like used Japanese text, Japanese writing and Japanese writing is just the most beautiful like text out there. It's so nice. It's so nice to look at. Like compared to like,
I mean, I was learning Japanese at the start of lockdown. Arigato. Yeah.
Very nice. Like compared to the kind of characters that we use in like the Western world, like Europe and America and UK and things like that, they're just so much nicer to look at, and they're so much more artistic. So I really wanted to use that sort of aesthetic on the video, and then eventually on the album art as well. So that's where we ended up, and it's it's been good. I've learned so much. It's that was part of my attraction to it. Actually, it was like something I'd never done before, something I wanted to try, and it's been a real learning experience. But the video's out there soon, I think. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but
yeah, we haven't worked out the order yet. It's probably out by the time this is out, maybe.
Yeah.
If not, it's going to be out soon. We haven't got long to wait. Yeah. No, sick. It's really cool. It's a different style. Like, obviously, we've been in a lot of our videos up to now, and a lot of it's been based in like the editing of different videos of us and stuff. But to have like a more abstract, artistic one that it's quite closely linked to like what the song's talking about, is super cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, they coded like all the images and stuff. So it does feel like you're moving through the landscape on it as well. So it sort of does like remind me of what I was actually seeing when I was coming
no
up with
way.
it. So yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, that's great.
So good work.
Oh, and I'm
star.
glad it is. It reminds you of what you were thinking about. I'm glad that we're slightly aligned on what we created.
It's nothing to do with the song, so we're going to use it for the next one. It's all well and good, but it's not my vision. Yeah, crazy artist.
Yeah. So that was good. That's the video.
But yeah, so I think that's kind of everything that we have to say about Mono Lake, I guess. Apart from like we're gonna do a bit of stuff on it this week. You know, talk a bit about behind the scenes and sew together any sort of footage we have of us recording it and whatever to give you a bit of insight onto what that like. But probably not as glamorous as the video, you know. The video is so like artistic and beautiful, and then you'll see us actually recording it, sort of like us in our pajamas in our room. Like, so
that's fine. That's just behind the scenes stuff. That's what behind the scenes stuff is like. It might be like this is a real like professional polished video. A lot of the other ones we sort of like double down into the lo-fi kind of aesthetic, where we just like go out like just outrageous video editing just because it sometimes looks quite cool. But this one, that's probably what made it quite a lot harder actually, is when you're trying to make a polished product, you have to like think quite a lot harder, because if you're trying to be polished across the whole thing, every kind of mistake or bit that isn't quite as sharp as the rest just sticks out like a sore thumb. Whereas with like the jam videos we do and some of the like the previous like music videos that we've done, they're like they're kind of reveling in the fact that they're lo-fi, and it's kind of cool to have, or it's kind of like a certain aesthetic to have like trashy bits and like bring out the mistakes that we make in our jams and things like that. So it was a different way of making a video where there's no mistakes. Or I tried to make it so there was no mistakes.
Going for the upper leagues.
We're transcending. But we're not. I actually really like making the lo-fi videos. So there'll be plenty more of those.
Yeah, we'll make the next one trashy. Don't worry. Cool. Well, I think that's a good place to leave it there. Let them go away and listen to the song. Haven't decided if we're going to put in like an acoustic version at the end of the podcast or not. Can't remember what we.
I mean, we have to do it now that you said it, James.
Well, I could just cut this bit out.
Fair.
Should we?
I mean...
Here's an acoustic version of Mono Lake. See? And now if we do it, I can just say that together. Seamless.
Awesome.
1, 2, 3, 4. Down in Mono Lake, I got so long to wait. This water like a mirror might last forever. Sorry, Mono Lake, no, I'm not here to stay. 2 for tower soldiers got their own together, tumbling and growing on a one. Are we more than just a stop on the highway? Scratch around the thumb of the valley, and we say goodbye. Gotta keep it all. Holding myself. Down in Mono Lake, now we're driving away. Coffee by my tongue, but won't last forever. Wonder if the phony woman die this way. Counting down the clock and distant day becomes never. Tumbling and growing on a one. And I'm only at the start of the highway. Mono Lake, I don't wanna live and die afraid. Hit to the ground when I can already fly, and I don't know why. Gotta keep it all to myself, and I don't know why. Gotta keep it all to myself. Down in my leg, I got so long to wait. This water like a mirror's gonna last forever. Sorry, man, no leg, no, I'm not here to stay. Got some math form, got dudes, I might go together. Can this moment be mine just for one? But most of mine won't stop on the highway. Stop around the thumb of the valley. There's no reason why. Gotta keep it all to myself. Yeah, don't know why. Gotta keep it all to myself. And I bought everything the wise men told me. Time to wonder out even if I got the sun in my eye. I bought everything the rich man told me. Time to wonder out even if I got the sun in my eye. Time to wonder out even if I got the sun in my eye. Time to wonder out even if I got the sun in my eyes. Time to wonder out even if I got the sun in my eyes.